Becomes really happy upon hearing that she can finally take part in the war. She thanks him with a brimming smile on her face. However, Virion calms her down and lets her know that there will be a few conditions. She is so excited that she hardly pays attention and simply nods to everything he tells her. Before ending their conversation, he gives her a warning with a stern expression. He informs her not to get caught in a situation where she is forced to use her second phase. Even though she has gotten better at controlling it, she still hasn't fully mastered it yet. With a serious expression, she moves his hand away and tells him that she is already aware of that fact. Alder also told her that her beast will is different in a way, although he couldn't exactly point out how. Tessia begins to leave to find her parents, but Virion stops her. He reminds her that until this point, all his decisions were to protect her and keep her out of harm's way. However, since she is a soldier now, she will have to obey any order given to her. She must always keep in mind that the orders given are for the benefit of Decathlon and not her personal safety. Tessia moves forward and gives her grandpa a big hug. Afterward, she salutes him as her new commander and lets him know that she will do whatever it takes to protect Decathlon and its people. Virion salutes her back with a smile on his face. However, deep down he is scared as he knows that she meant every word she said. He walks alone through the castle. He arrives at an unknown room. Inside he is greeted by a maid. He inquires about the person she is taking care of. The maid lets him know that she is in perfect condition physically. However, try as they might, they can't seem to wake her up. The person they are talking about is none other than Cynthia. Virion sits next to her to talk and let out his frustration. He lets her know about how he found out about Alakria having battleships in their possession. The real reason he came to see her is because he wanted to let her know that he is finally letting Tessia go into battle. She would have been very surprised to hear this if she was awake. He laughs at himself, remembering how he told her that he will treat her like a real soldier. But this is all just a front to hide his real feelings. But in reality, he is scared of losing her. He knows that she is stubborn and passionate about going into battle, so he decided to let her do it before she sneaks out anyway. At least this way he can keep an eye on her. He finally begins breaking down, releasing his pent-up frustration, and confesses to her how hard it is to handle everything. He stepped down as the king so he wouldn't have to do all this. Ironically, he is now doing it on an even bigger scale. He is being trained by an Azuret to make sure that he is mentally, physically, and emotionally fit to be the leader. The only thing he wants is to spend his life peacefully while sitting in his garden and watching his granddaughter grow up. But now he has to send her to war from where she might never return. The four kings and queens do what they can to help, but in the end, they are answerable to him since he was chosen by Alder as the only one fit to lead their forces. Tears start forming in his eyes. He tells Cynthia that he has already outlived his wife. He doesn't want to outlive his granddaughter as well. He takes her hand and apologizes to her. He had a feeling that there was something wrong. Cynthia knew that the curse wasn't fully lifted. She understood that she might die, but she revealed the information anyway. He also feels sorry for letting her go through with it even though he knew. Virion recalls the time he spent with her when they were young. He can't help but be brought to tears. Many people regard her as an Alacrian spy. However, Virion assures her that he never thought of her that way. He says goodbye to her and promises to find a way to wake her up once the war is over. 3 months have passed, and Tessia is now in charge of her very own team of 3. This team includes an arrogant and prideful frontline fighter named Darvis, a strong gauntlet-wielding fighter named Caria, a support mage named Stannard, and their team leader Tessia. Their team is on a scouting mission in the dungeons. The monsters they fight are weak, but great in number. Unable to fight them all off by themselves, Tessia orders Stannard to use one of his spells to create a distraction so they can escape. She uses her vines to hold the monsters in place so Stannard can go all out without the fear of missing. He uses a gun-like artifact to fire a strong spell. Upon making contact, the spell creates a huge blast, covering a massive area. Using the wall of fire as a cover, the team starts heading back. In celebration of their victory, they start laughing and goofing off. However, Tessia reminds them that the fire won't last forever, so they should save their banter for later. Darvis mentions that it's supper time. This ruins everyone's moods. This is because they have been reminded of the same old mush that is waiting for them. But this is the life of the soldier, I guess. The team arrives at their base camp. It is protected by giant steel doors that remain closed at all times. After making sure that they are not enemies, the guard opens the door and lets the team enter. The camp is full of tents. These tents are what the soldiers call home. Upon arriving, they head off to take showers and wipe away the stench of guts and blood. After taking a shower, Tessia arrives back at their tent where she finds everyone sitting by a campfire. However, Darvis seems to be struggling to start one. Watching this reminds her of when they first started out as a team. The difference is obvious to anyone watching. They have grown a lot closer through their shared struggle. Tessia gets an unexpected visitor. When she turns around to look, she is pleasantly surprised to see that it's Helen. She quickly runs over and gives her a big hug. However, she is not alone. She is accompanied by the rest of the members of Twinhorn. She introduces them to her team. True to his nature, Darvis quickly makes his way over to flirt with Angela. Tessia recalls that although Darvis is arrogant, he has a good reason for it. He is a talented prodigy who is proficient in mana control and has great reflexes to match. The next one to introduce herself is Curia. Unlike her brash and outspoken self, she seems to be somewhat shy around the Twinhorn. Helen is able to tell that she belongs to the Raid family. Just like Darvis's family, the Clarels are known for their axemanship. The Raid family is known for their gauntlet techniques. Darvis was kicked out of the house by his father and thrown into the battle. Curia was also exiled by her parents because they wanted a son. Due to this shared trauma, the two of them made quite a pair. Despite his crass personality, Darvis cared for two things: flirting with women and watching out for his childhood friend Curia. Curia Reedy is just as headstrong as Darvis, but she is also bright and optimistic. She is also the glue that holds the team together. Watching the two of them fight, Jasmine comments that they remind her of Tessia and Arthur. This leaves her embarrassed while everyone else can't help but laugh. Seeing Stannard with his gun, Durden walks over to ask about this strange weapon. He tells him that he had it made because of his deviant powers. Tessia explains that he can store spells in beast cores. All of the Twinhorn members are left impressed and intrigued. While Stannard demonstrates his powers, Tessia further explains that he left a distinct impression during his assessment and got the opportunity to meet Virion. He is a dark yellow core mage with fire and wind affinity. However, despite this, he has a deficiency in his mana core. This results in him having a low mana pool, but he still proved himself with his strange deviant powers. Tessia's team is the youngest group in this division. This made her very proud. They fought just as well as the other group and their division has been doing great. Because of this, Tessia is left to wonder why the Twinhorns are here. Helen reveals that they have just come back from the wall. Although the situation there is much worse, they were sent here to help with scouting. She warns them to prepare themselves for what's about to come. Stannard becomes curious and asks her about what she saw at the wall. All the Twinhorn members go quiet, none daring to recall the terrible experience. Tessia wonders if they have been actually fighting against the Alacrian mages. Helen reveals that they have. They were there for about 4 months. The wall is a base while the actual fighting is occurring at the borders of the beast glades. The mages aren't the real problem. It's the mana beasts under their control. Angela reveals that this is the reason the higher-ups sent them here. They are here to look for a mutated S-class mana beast that is hiding in this cavern. The Alacrians have thousands of mana beasts under their control. This is the reason they are having a tough time against them. The Twinhorn has been given the mission to hunt down this mana beast before the enemy uses it to break down the wall. The mutant mana beasts are mainly beasts that control their own dungeons. By controlling the mutants, the Alacrians are able to control all the beasts under them as well. As long as these mutants are alive, other members of their species will follow them and fight for the Alacrians. There are many squads in the dungeons, trying to find the mutants and kill them before Alacria can gather a large army of them and advance towards the wall. The dungeon that Tessia's team has been assigned to happens to be the one housing an S-class mutant. Tessia inquires more about what is happening at the wall. However, this pisses Adam off. He becomes angry as she repeatedly makes them recall the deaths of many of their comrades. She clarifies that she is asking this because once they kill the mutant, her team will be sent to the wall next. She wants to be prepared for what they will have to face. Adam's anger rages on as he grits his teeth in frustration. Before the situation gets worse, Angela steps in to take Adam away with the excuse that it's about time for them to set up camp. Helen apologizes to Tessia on his behalf and tells her not to take his words to heart. She reveals that the Alacrian soldiers are much more monstrous than any beasts in these dungeons. The mana beasts fight on instincts to survive. However, the enemy soldiers fight to kill. The most bone-chilling fact is that being killed is the least of their worries. Stannard becomes curious and asks what she means by that. It's about information. Being taken prisoner and tortured by the enemy. This makes people wish for death. Fighting mana beasts is all black and white. The creatures are bad, and the humans are good. But when fighting other humans, things are not that simple. When faced with humans who can talk, scream in pain, and beg for their lives, things become gray. It becomes harder to distinguish the right from the wrong. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by a scream for help. It's a soldier carrying his injured companion and yelling for a medic. Tessia can't help but watch, as she can't do anything to help. Tessia and Helen make their way to the infirmary. There they meet Drogo, the previous leader of Twin Horn. He asks them for the reason why they came here. It's because they want to know the latest updates that have been brought in by the injured soldier. Unfortunately for them, the soldier is too injured and unconscious. Drogo tells them that it may be a while before they get any answers out of him. It happened because of dehydration and malnutrition. From the state of his feet, the nurses are able to tell that he has been running nonstop for a while. But the question remains, what was he running from? The soldier suddenly wakes up as if he was having a horrible nightmare. The first thing he asks is how long he has been unconscious. The nurses bring him some water and tell him to rest. Drogo asks him what happened to him. They are all dead, he says in a dreadful voice. I was the only one to survive. He goes on to explain that he had an argument with his teammate, so he stayed behind. However, he felt guilty about letting his comrades go into battle alone, so he decided to follow them instead. However, when he finally caught up, he was horrified to see what had happened. His entire team had been killed by gnolls. They were ambushed by hundreds of them. They were far stronger than the normal ones, and some even carried man-made weapons. However, he got lucky and managed to hide behind some rocks. He quietly hid there for days until he finally managed to set up a teleportation gate. However, he couldn't risk activating it and having the gnolls destroy it before he used it, so he ran all the way back. The soldier reveals that there was a huge door behind the army of gnolls. It's as if they were protecting something. It was the den of the S-class mana beast. A few minutes later, Drogo's voice echoed through this small cave as he told everyone about the soldier's message. Over 100 of them quickly scurried around to listen. It's finally time that they kill the S-class mutant. Stanner becomes nervous. He has been doing this for 3 months, but this will be the first real battle that he will fight. Both Darvis and Karya also try to shake off their nerves. However, Tessia, even though she was the youngest, was the most composed. She ties her hair up to prepare for the battle. Stanner can't help but feel attracted to her. But he reminds himself that she is out of his league, and besides, she is already in love with some Arthur guy. Putting that aside, he can't seem to shake off his nervousness. Seeing him like this, Karya walks over and tries to calm him down. She tells him to stretch so he doesn't get cramped up. He finally manages to get over his nerves. All the soldiers gather near the spot where the Nash were spotted. Before entering the battle, Drogo cautions everyone to stay alert as they don't know the exact number of the monsters. Tessia tries to motivate her team by making a promise to make it out of this alive and having a delicious dinner afterward. Drogo finally gives the order to charge, and the entire army rushes into the cave. This is the first time Stannard has experienced a real battle. Fear quickly takes over him as he watches his comrade die in front of him. Darvis arrives to rescue her, but not before she succumbs to her injuries. Due to being distracted, Stannard is nearly killed when he gets attacked from behind. However, he manages to react in time and shoots the beast with his gun. He continues to provide support for his team using his long-range spells. Tessia also makes great use of her beast will to trap the beasts using her vines. She is able to take out many of them using this method. While Tessia keeps them immobilized using the vines, the earth magic users quickly form a wall around them to trap them inside a crater. After the few remaining beasts have been taken out, Drogo orders all the mages to fire their spells at the trapped beasts within the crater. They do great damage, taking out many of them. To finish it off, Stannard forms a huge ball of fire using his gun and launches it towards the crater. All the soldiers quickly jump out of the way from the fear of getting hit by it. As soon as the spell makes contact, a huge blast occurs, vaporizing all the mana beast inside in one go. All the soldiers cheer to mark their victory. Drogo raises his sword as well and honors the soldiers who gave their lives to make this victory happen. However, Stannard sees it in a different light. He feels empathy for the soldiers who lost their comrades. Victory doesn't mean anything if it comes at such a big cost. He wonders how many more will die when they fight the S-class mutant waiting for them. While many others are celebrating their triumph, the same cannot be said for Tessia. Stannard notices that she doesn't seem too happy and asks her what's wrong. He is surprised to learn that she is upset for the same reason he was. She is sad because they lost 10 soldiers despite coming out victorious. Darvis tries to tease her for being the ever-so-compassionate princess. Karya grabs her hand and tries to make her understand. They did their best, and they came out on top. That's all they can do, and the rest isn't in anyone's control. Stannard also joins in, letting her know that they all knew the risks before going into battle. He tells her that's impossible to save everyone. However, this seems to have the opposite effect as Tessia becomes more upset about her inability to save everyone. "I'll never catch up to him at this rate," she says in a depressing tone. Karya asks her if she is talking about this Arthur guy again. Darvis gets a bit annoyed. He has had enough of hearing about Art. Tessia describes him as if he is some all-powerful, godlike human being. He believes there is no way that she isn't biased in some way. Karya teases him, saying that he must be jealous. While the two of them fight, Tessia recalls how she first met Art. He was a little scary when he came to rescue her. Looking back, she knows he probably had a hidden agenda back then. Darvis continues bad-mouthing Art. He tells everyone that he isn't that great of a guy since he ran away to train without even saying goodbye to Tessia. He suggests that Art was just afraid of dying in the war, so he used the excuse of training to run away. Tessia gets angry upon hearing this and tells him that he is wrong. Art may be many things, but he isn't one to run away in fear. This is because of his desire to protect his loved ones. Darvis isn't impressed and sarcastically replies, Yeah, Arthur will be the hero to save us all." The whole army continues going deeper into the cave to the location of the mutant. Based on the reports, they will soon arrive at the location where there are hundreds of gnolls and orcs waiting for them. Drogo cautions everyone to be careful and tells them to prepare themselves. With that said, everyone rushes forward to battle. However, to their surprise, as soon as they arrive, they realize that all the monsters are already dead. They are left confused and wondering what happened here. Drogo orders everyone to stay calm and continue towards the door. There is another surprise waiting for them. They realize that the door isn't fully closed. Fear quickly swipes through Drogo. Countless possibilities come to his head. Maybe the mutant came out and killed his underlings. Regardless, he orders one of the soldiers to open the door. As soon as it opens, they are greeted by a literal mountain of corpses. Everyone instantly puts up their guard to confront any potential threat. Sitting on top of these remains is a figure, which appears to be a demon. To everyone's shock, it's none other than Art. The soldiers put up their shields thinking that he is an enemy. As usual, Sylvie jumps down to hug Tessia. Drogo quickly pulls out his sword, thinking that she is being attacked. With a frightened voice, he shouts out to Art, demanding to know his name. Art doesn't reply and jumps down to the ground. This startles everyone, including Darvis, Karya, and Stannard. He tells them to relax, assuring them that he is an ally. This is confirmed when Helen recognizes him and joyfully steps forward to hug him. However, Stannard notices that Tessia doesn't seem to be cheerful. In fact, one can tell that she is worried for some reason. Drogo interrupts their reunion and demands to know what happened here. He wasn't informed that they were getting reinforcements. Art replies telling him that he couldn't have been informed because he only arrived an hour ago. However, he didn't expect to land in the middle of a swarm, so he had to take them out. Drogo is shocked to learn that a kid could take out hundreds of mana beasts single-handedly, including the S-class mutant. Whispers start flying around among the soldiers. They are in disbelief that a boy can take out all the mana beasts alone, a task for which they brought a small army. Stannard inquires about what happened to the beast cores. Art informs him that Sylvie ate them all. However, this is another thing that Drogo has a hard time believing. How can such a small creature consume so many beast cores at the same time? Tessia finally speaks up, informing Drogo that she and the Twin Horns will vouch for Art and ensure that he is escorted to base camp without any trouble. With that said, the whole army starts heading back. On the surface, there is no doubt that this person is Tessia's childhood friend. However, for some reason, she feels a sense of unease. It had been years since they last saw each other, so she imagined their reunion going a bit differently. The rest of the soldiers were also restless because of Art's sudden appearance. Once they arrived, Art had a meeting with Drogo about what happened. However, Tessia could clearly tell that he was keeping secrets. He was only telling them what was necessary for them to know. Drogo was also angry because of this, but he had still gotten enough information to plan their next course of action. After the meeting, Jasmine left the tent to give Tessia and Art some time alone. Tessia's heart starts beating faster and faster. She doesn't know how to break the ice since it has been a long time. Art finally speaks up, telling her that he missed her. She is brought to tears and hugs him since she missed him as well. They finally start talking like they always have. Art asks her how she has been all this time. He tells her not to leave anything behind and tell him everything. Outside the tent, Darvis's frustration about Art grows even more. He believes that there is no way one person could defeat all those mana beasts. So in his mind, it's clear that Art is hiding something. Curia and Stannard continue to tease him, telling him that he is just jealous. Darvis makes up his mind. He picks up his axe and decides to challenge Art to a duel. This way he can prove to everyone that Art is just a fraud. After a while, both Tessia and Art come out of the tent. Darvis realizes that this is his opportunity to carry out his plan. He walks over to Art and formally challenges him to a duel. Everyone gathers around to watch the fight. They all want to watch the guy who supposedly defeated the S-Class mutant all by himself. Art asks Darvis about his reasons for wanting to duel with him. However, he gives a vague reply telling him that it's because of his pride as a man. Drogo acts as the referee and announces the rules to both fighters. Firstly, they are only allowed to use mana to enhance their bodies, which means they can't conjure any spells. Secondly, the first one to yield or get knocked unconscious will lose. Even Drogo is very curious about how strong Art is. With a wave of his hand, he signals the start of the duel. Darvis wastes no time and instantly charges toward Art. He tries to use a feint and goes behind him instead. However, this is not enough to trick Art, who gives him a cold, deathly glare. Darvis can feel a chill run down his spine as soon as he sees it. His body instinctively jumps back, as if he is the prey trying to avoid being hunted by the predator. The nearby soldiers start calling him a wimp for running away. Both Curia and Stannard are surprised as well. They have been a party for a while. Stannard has witnessed Darvis hacking away at A-class mana beasts without any fear. He has seen him challenge opponents twice his size, all with a smile on his face. This is why he is having trouble believing what is happening before his eyes. This is the first time he has seen the battle-hungry Darvis experience fear. With a loud roar, he once again charges forward to attack. Art dodges all his attacks with ease. As soon as Darvis overextends a little, he quickly jumps onto the opportunity and lands a powerful punch. He is not taken out of the fight just yet, but he is left in disbelief upon witnessing Art's insane reaction speed. Darvis uses his axe to launch a rock towards him. He easily crushes the rock into pieces with a single punch. However, he soon realizes that the rock is just a distraction as Darvis quickly appears behind him. He once again uses his terrifying speed to easily avoid the attack and turn the tables on Darvis. In the blink of an eye, he launches a flurry of punches at Darvis. He is so fast that his movements are invisible to the naked eye. To everyone else watching, it appears as if Darvis just fell to the floor on his own. However, Curia seemed to realize what happened. Art raptured Darvis's mana flow by targeting key points on his body. These points are supposed to be naturally protected. On top of that, they are supposed to be so small that it is almost impossible to target them in battle, let alone that fast. Stannard is left in awe of Art's amazing strength. Having his mana flow disturbed, Darvis lies helplessly on the ground, unable to move his body. To everyone's surprise, Virion appears out of nowhere to congratulate Art on his victory. They make their way to a tent to have a discussion. Virion is obviously very pleased to see his old student, evident from the fact that he nearly chokes him out while trying to hug him. Tessia has many questions for Art, like how he opened the door to the S-Class mana beast and how did he defeat it. Virion tells her to leave her queries for later. For now, they have important things to discuss. He tells her that they will be going back to the castle. Much to her disappointment, Alder informs her that she has to stay here. Tessia tries to complain about it since she is seeing Art after such a long time. However, Virion reminds her that she is a soldier now. She has to make preparations with her team. She can't just abandon her duties to spend time with a friend. Although she is a bit disappointed, she understands her duties and gives him a salute as her commander. As she is about to leave, Alder comments on how she has gotten stronger because of their training. Art is a bit amazed to learn that she has also received training from an Azura. Outside the tent, Tessia rejoins her team while the rest of them head to a portal meant to teleport them to the castle. As soon as Art steps through the portal, he sees a giant bear waiting for him on the other side. This bear has an intimidating aura. Sitting on top of it is none other than Ellie. She leaps off of it straight into his arms to give him a big hug. He hugs her back and thanks her for such a lovely welcome. However, it soon turns into a sibling fight where Art tries to teach her a lesson for jumping on him. The mood suddenly becomes serious as he sees his parents walking towards him. He doesn't know what to say in this situation. Although it's been a long time, they probably haven't forgotten everything. However, he is proven wrong as both Alice and Ray run over and embrace him. He is left confused, but Alice reminds him that she raised him for over a decade. This is more than enough reason for a hug. He cannot be happier to finally be able to embrace them again. Now that all the greetings are out of the way, it's finally time to address the bear in the room. Boo has been waiting eagerly to challenge Art. With a big swing, he lands his massive paw on Art's shoulder, breaking the floor beneath him. To his shock, Art doesn't even flinch and is completely unharmed. Boo is left completely demoralized, so Ellie quickly goes over to cheer him up. She explains that Boo is very competitive and likes to check how much stronger he is than everyone else. Art is left stunned when Ellie reveals that Boo is her bond. Virion further explains that he was a gift from Winsome. He was a baby cub then, but he quickly grew up in these past 2 years. Putting all this aside, Alder reminds them that it's time for their meeting. He assures Art that he will get to see his family again since they are living in the castle as well. Satisfied with that, he says goodbye to his family and goes with Virion and Alder to the meeting room. He is surprised to find the room empty. He had expected the kings and queens to be here as well. At the very least, he thought Cynthia would be with them. With a gloomy expression, Virion reveals to him that Cynthia has been in a comatose state ever since he divulged the information about Alakria. Art is shocked and angry at the same time. He asks Virion to tell him everything that has happened in the last 2 years. According to him, the Gladers have been focusing their efforts on the kingdom of Darv, all in the hope of getting back the Dwarves' alliance. Curtis and Kathleen have done the same thing as Tessia. They formed their own team and are fighting with the army to get real battle experience. Art's family has been moved to the castle for protection, however, the Halsey family has gone somewhere else to help with the war effort. Art questions if his mother or father has shown interest in joining the war. As expected, Ray wanted to join, but Virion told him to wait for his son's return. Now that he is caught up with the events of the past 2 years, they finally get to the point of this meeting. They obviously didn't bring him here just to reunite with his family. On top of that, it must be something serious if Virion is trying to keep his own granddaughter in the dark. The current situation of the war has been a concern for everyone. Even with the defensive line at the wall, the S-class mana beasts combined with the soldiers coming through the teleportation gates make up a pretty dangerous Alacrian force. However, it's too suspicious. Despite all this, they have yet to break through the wall. This means that either the Decathan defense is too strong for them, or they are stalling for time. By the look on Virion's face, Art is easily able to guess that it's probably the latter. Virion reveals that they have found evidence that confirms this very fact. However, before revealing it, Alder tells him not to blame himself after seeing it. With that said, he puts out the blueprints for the Alacrian ships. Art is taken aback to realize that these are similar to the ones he came up with for the Decathius. The Alacrians built their ships using Art's design as inspiration. Their meeting is interrupted as a scared soldier suddenly enters the room. All he can say is that they're approaching the western coast. He stutters as he completes his sentence. In a shocking turn of events, he reveals that the Alacrian army has arrived on their ships. Art leaps out of his chair and quickly runs out of the room. He runs straight toward the teleportation gate without stopping for anything along the way. He tries to enter the teleportation gate, but he is stopped by the guards. He requests to be let through, but the guards remind him that he needs proper authorization to use the gate. He tells them that he is just coming from a meeting with Virion and he knows about it. However, the guard gives him a stern reply, telling him that no matter what, they will not let him through until they get approval from either Virion or Alder. Art slowly starts to lose his patience and unleashes his terrifying aura. Before the situation gets ugly, Alder steps in to stop him. He lets the guards know that Art is free to leave whenever he wants, but at the same time, he advises Art not to do anything foolish. With a quick nod, he hurries towards the teleportation gate to go to Etistan City. Elsewhere in the castle, 2 unknown figures stand over Cynthia's unconscious body. They are here to extract some kind of information from her. As long as they can do so, they don't care if she dies. Cynthia's eyes suddenly open and she recalls a memory from her past. She is in a beautiful garden with a younger version of Virion. They are talking about their future plans now that the war between the humans and the elves is over. Virion suggests that she would make an excellent mentor. He tells her that he can envision her being the head of a prestigious academy. Little did he know how accurate he was. Cynthia replies telling him that perhaps she will open up her own academy. She has taken a liking to Exiris City, so that would be the perfect location. She goes on about how the Exiris Academy will become the greatest institution for mages around the world. Virion tries to give her a fist bump to wish her luck for the success of the academy. However, the scene suddenly starts to turn gloomy. Virion starts walking away. Try as she might, she is unable to move. Suddenly she starts bleeding from her stomach. In the present, Virion is suddenly woken up by a loud scream. He makes his way out of his office to see what's going on. A soldier informs him that the scream came from the room below them. To his horror, he realizes that the shout came from Cynthia's room. Elsewhere, Art finally arrives in Etistan City after going through the portal. Once again, he is stopped by the guards. They take him for some runaway noble brat throwing a tantrum, and hence refuse to open the gates. Frustrated by this, he chooses not to argue with them, and instead orders Sylvie to turn into her dragon form. While riding on her back, Art crashes through the roof. The two of them head straight to the western coast of the city to check out the situation. Back in the castle, Virion finally arrives at Cynthia's room. He is forced to drop to his knee upon seeing her. Her lifeless body is covered with spikes. Virion screams out with grief as he has just lost a dear friend. Meanwhile, Art finally arrives at the coast. He is left